Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Kamber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's BEALL Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Kamber with another great guest impacting our community in a positive way. Today, I welcome Alzheimer's Orange County Vice President Patty Mouton. The organization provides support to Orange County families and individuals through brain health and dementia education, care consultations, community resource connections, adult day health services, residential memory care services, and more. Thank you, Patty, for being on Impact OC.
Hi, it's so great to be here, Dawn. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Well, please define Alzheimer's disease.
Well, most people don't know that there are more than 100 different forms of dementia, and all those forms of dementia impact people's ability to remember and form new memories. But also, if you have diseases like Alzheimer's type dementia, it's an irreversible, progressive brain disease where structures in the brain are being broken down by the disease process. And it shows the hallmark symptoms, which are the beta amyloid plaques, those sticky, gooey formations in brain cells, and the tau protein problems. We call them neurofibrillary tangles, where they get inside the tentacles in a brain cell and have it break down from the inside out. We know that this progressive neuropathology causes problems with all domains of thought. It's not just memory. It's navigation, it's computation for math skills, it's being able to read, to speak, to hear what people have to say and process that meaning of the words, word finding difficulties, facial recognition. Alzheimer's type dementia really impacts the totality of the person's ability to have cognition and reasoning and make sense out of the world.
Now, you're saying Alzheimer's dementia. Is Alzheimer's different than dementia?
That's a great question. Dementia is the umbrella term that encompasses, again, about 100 to 120 different kinds of diseases. And underneath that umbrella of dementia, one of those diseases is Alzheimer's type dementia. And that accounts for about 2/3 of all dementia illnesses. But you also have things like vascular dementia from a series of little strokes. You could have dementia with Lewy bodies, which is yet another type of protein anomaly that causes problems in the brain. You could have dementia resulting from Parkinson's disease or Huntington's disease. You could have dementia that comes from lifelong overuse of alcohol. So there's many, many types of dementia, and Alzheimer's disease is just one type of dementia. It just is a lot more prevalent than some of the other forms.
Now, when you have Alzheimer's, it gets worse. The other ones, can you get better?
That's a great question. Most forms of irreversible dementia are fatal. You do die from them. And there are recent estimates that 1 in 3 adults in the United States over age 65 dies either from Alzheimer's type dementia or with it, with other kinds of what they call comorbidities or other health problems. So dementia is very, very present in our older adult population. But there are many different forms. If you had a form of dementia that was caused, for example, by low thyroid, maybe lack of B12, maybe some anemia going on, then with proper medical treatment, that metabolic disorder that's causing symptoms that look like dementia, that could be reversed. But if you have a dementia like Alzheimer's, like vascular dementia, frontal temporal dementia, dementia with Lewy bodies, Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, those types of dementia are not reversible and they're always fatal.
The age of people getting these ailments.
Well, that's a really good question, too. There's kind of a line of demarcation at age 65. And after age 65, the prevalence in the population goes up. For Alzheimer's type dementia, less than about 5% occurs in people under age 65. And typically, if somebody becomes ill, like at 58 or age 60, typically that is the genetic variant, so that there's a little closer relationship between the person experiencing the disease and, say, what their parents may have experienced. So you have a small percentage that is the genetic variant, and it typically strikes people younger than age 65. But the majority of people who contract Alzheimer's type dementia do so after age 65. And prevalence varies age-wise. At age 65, about 1 in 8 or 9 of us could expect to have some Alzheimer's disease that has been brewing. It may be showing symptoms, or it may be in the very, very early stages. By the time we get to 85 years old, then about half of us have an Alzheimer's type dementia. And the percentage of people who are vulnerable to the disease and are likely to get it goes up fairly exponentially in the years after 85, so that by the time someone is 90, they have a greater than 90% chance, approximately, of contracting Alzheimer's disease.
How does your organization help?
Oh, we do so in a variety of ways. We help people who are maybe in denial or afraid or not wanting to face what is happening to them. We help them determine and get the answers they need from their doctor, because a good diagnosis is really essential to a good treatment plan. You can't treat a disease if you don't know what you're dealing with. So it's important that people get a really full, thorough medical workup so that we know, do they have dementia, and what kind of dementia is it? Because the way it is treated and the trajectory of the disease are going to be a little bit different depending upon the type of dementia that it might happen to be.
What kind of treatment plans are there?
Well, there are a few drugs that are effective on Alzheimer's type dementia for kind of slowing down the process and the progression of the symptoms. So there's 2 classes of drugs that are indicated for Alzheimer's type dementia. One are the cholinesterase inhibitors. Big word, but basically these are medications that help keep one of the brain neurochemicals a little more available for a little longer period of time. The chemical is called acetylcholine, and it's very instrumental in helping memories get put together and being able to retrieve them. So you have medications like Exelon or Aricept. People may have heard of these 2 different medications because they've been around quite a while. And those medications act to just make that acetylcholine a little more available to a few more brain cells for a little longer period of time. The benefit is, in about 60% of people with truly Alzheimer's type dementia, people will get a stabilization of their symptoms. So that might mean that somebody who's experiencing Alzheimer's dementia could continue to dress themselves, could continue to recognize faces, use the toilet, feed themselves, read, be able to continue to write. Maybe some of those functions will remain intact, maybe for 4 or 5 years longer than if they didn't take the medication. They can remain ambulatory, and then the medication effectiveness starts to wane. So after a period of time, the cholinesterase inhibitors are not so effective anymore on people. But hopefully it has given them a 5 or 6 year run of stabilized symptoms and a little bit of relief from some of the severity of the symptoms. There's another medication called Namenda, or Memantine is the generic name, that works to calm down hyperexcitable brain cells. So if you consider that your brain is part of thousands, millions of brain cells all trying to do their work, and they're operating at warp speed, and they're busy, and they're shooting off neurochemical messages and electrical charge, and another neuron is trying to catch the information and then process it. And these cells are busy. When some of their compadres have been damaged by something like Alzheimer's disease, the cells that are still good are working overtime, and they often get hyperexcited. Well, like any of us, if we get really excited and try and multitask, we typically don't do the work as well. Namenda helps to calm down that hyperexcitability, and that's part of why it works very well in combination with drugs like Aricept or Exelon. Many physicians will prescribe an Exelon patch and Namenda taken orally, and together those two drugs have a little heightened effect, a little synergistic effect, and it optimizes the benefit to the individual. Doesn't work in every single person. It's about 60% of patients with Alzheimer's type dementia get the most benefit. And then after a period of years, the efficacy and benefits start to decline.
So you help people living with the disease, and you help their families cope with them living with the disease.
Absolutely. We get them a good diagnosis through their doctor. We help them then with a family care plan, because most people have no idea, well, now what do? We'll get Dad on the medication, but then what happens if he can't live alone safely? Well, we help them to anticipate what the individual's needs are going to be, and then connect to community resources so they know what they're dealing with. If they're going to have to hire caregivers to come in, we make recommendations of vetted, upstanding companies that we trust and that we know. We've checked their credentials. We know their bona fides. And so we can make recommendations for places that they could go to hire help to come into the home. If they're thinking about placement, let's say the family just can't support the really 24/7 care that a loved one needs. People have to go to work. Maybe the spouse that was caring for grandpa, maybe grandma is herself in her 80s and has some health issues. So maybe she just isn't physically capable of being able to carry out all of his care needs. So they decide to place. Well, then decisions have to be made. Do we want small residential care, maybe a 6-bed board and care home in a neighborhood? Or maybe we want a really lovely memory care facility in a property that looks like a cruise ship, and it's beautiful and lots of activities and lots of things going on. It's really going to depend upon how are we going to best meet the individual's needs, what is the family budget, and what does this person need in order to optimize their quality of life. So we help families with those kinds of decisions. We help families understand the importance of clinical trials and being involved in some of the studies. Who knows? The next breakthrough might be just waiting for a cohort of people on whom it can be tested. So we let people know what might be available that would be appropriate for them. We help people who are just really enduring the crushing responsibilities of being caregivers. Maybe it's thrust on them when they least expected it, and they're like, well, what do we do now? So we help them. If you create a plan, if you do the things that are necessary to get to certain places in your plan, now not only are you empowered, but you're several steps ahead of what the next crisis in the disease might be.
What should caregivers realize when they're faced with someone that they love having dementia?
The most important thing, in my experience, is that they know where to go to get some help, because this is not a solitary illness. We need all the help we can get in a family that's experiencing any kind of dementia. Take the help. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We shouldn't have any stigma attached. We just need to let people know you can get help with counseling. You can have somebody that can help you get through the tough days. We'll help you find the right kinds of community resources. We'll help you understand what your financial picture can buy in terms of Alzheimer's care and what would need to be supplemented. We help people then interact and interface with CalOptima if they need to get Medi-Cal, Medicaid benefits. We help people go to bat to get their Social Security. Perhaps they need to have their benefits issued earlier. And Alzheimer's disease and many forms of dementia now are part of a compassionate allowance so that people could get their Medicare early. They could get their Social Security benefits earlier. They don't have to wait necessarily until they're 65. We can help them tap into all of those resources.
How can you help them understand that their loved one has changed due to the disease?
This is such a heart-wrenching situation because many people respond to some of the communication problems or behavioral problems that a person with dementia might have. They might get cranky. They might get grumpy. They might have a mean day. They might actually get combative because they don't have the words anymore to explain what they need or how they're feeling. So we help families understand those communication speed bumps and what they can do to get around them. We help families understand that this is due to organic changes in someone's brain. The structures that might have controlled an outburst of cursing, for example, those structures may be gone. And so it's not their fault, it's the disease speaking. And oftentimes when people have these kinds of behavioral and agitated outbreaks, how we respond is what determines what's going to happen next. So if we can respond to calm people down, diffuse the situation, let them know they're safe, that they're cared for, and that we really want to help solve their problem.
In what form do you provide this education?
Oh, many forms. We have a whole YouTube channel, and we've got, I don't know, about 100 different lectures on the YouTube channel that people can go and listen to anytime at their convenience. We constantly have classes being offered both in person and electronically via Zoom so that they can hear from experts in this field the latest information on how to communicate with someone with dementia, how to deal with sleep disorders, how to structure activities at home, how to look for a place if you're thinking that they can't live at home anymore. So we have all of those lectures in a library on a YouTube channel. We have live education. This morning before I came here, we had an event at a church in Laguna Niguel, a specially adapted prayer service for people with dementia so that they could enjoy that spiritual expression and the whole experience of going to church, but without having it be a problem in case other members of the congregation wouldn't appreciate a behavioral outburst or a comment being made. Maybe the sermon would be too long. So this is specially adapted just right for people who have a dementia. And then we have a little luncheon afterwards. So we have activities. We have things that people can go to with camaraderie, with other people who are experiencing the same thing. We have groups, what we call Our Gang, which is a specialty, kind of an elevated support and activity group for people with dementia to come with their care partner. They each get support, they have activities, they get to do things together. We also have more than 40 support groups where a trained facilitator is going to meet with the family caregivers of people with dementia and allow them to vent, allow them to ask questions, allow them to voice some of the fears that they have, and really have not only trained facilitator support, but peer support and great ideas. Those are proven to be extremely valuable as people navigate this journey. Evidence-based education is critical. So to any of the listeners who are planning to go to a lecture about Alzheimer's or dementia, ask from whom it's going to be delivered. Ask if it's evidence-based or evidence-informed, because that's how we do things. We look at the academic literature and we don't just make a claim or say, try this without a ton of academic support. That's really important to know so people can have confidence that when they're talking to our staff, it's master's level social workers. I'm a master's candidate in gerontology. We have people who are highly trained, highly educated, and know the nuances of these diseases.
What's the website so people can get way more information?
Oh, sure. It's www.alzoc.org. So it's like ALZ OC. We're Alzheimer's Orange County. www.alzoc.org.
Thank you, Alzheimer's Orange County Vice President Patty Mouton, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Kamber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.